We are live. Hello, AJ.
Woohoo! Hey, how's it going?
Good. Well, thank you for being here. So we had a couple of conversation offline. So I already told you that when I started looking, studying your life, your career, I bumped into this post, like something like 5 years mom, 4 years CEO. And I have to ask. I mean, I don't know if you're comfortable talking about your personal life first, but how is it to be a CEO and a mom at such a young age with so many people under you all of a sudden? How does it feel?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of it's been really hard. I won't sugarcoat it. It's been really difficult. But I have an amazing husband and family, and I've just had to cut out a lot of things in my life that were fluff. Some people may not call them fluff, but I've had to cut out a lot of things to make sure I have time for the things that I feel matter most.
Oh, that's good. I don't know about you, but I think that for me, taking a barrier or a boundary between work and home and family has been often not always a problem. I mean, I was never the type that was working, till late hours. But even if I came home at 5 p.m., I would still have, the problems that you need to solve as an engineer. And often those problems do not only affect you and your career and your bonus, right? Your performance. It's not that the problem. The problem is that they affect other people in your team, people in other teams that need to use your software, your piece, your component to move forward. And as you grow in your career, your job does not affect your immediate team. It can affect the entire company. So, do you bring your work home? Are you still a CEO after 6 p.m. or how do you manage that?
Yeah, I in the early years it was 24/7. I was always responding to Slack messages, um, and it was really hard on my family, really hard on my family and my marriage and everything. So I kind of hit this point where I had to circumscribe, kind of box in work to certain hours of the day, not just for my relationships, but for my health. Um, I've been learning a lot about cortisol recently and how that affects your health, and how prolonged periods of elevated cortisol can affect your adrenal system and everything, which ultimately impacts your performance, not only as a professional, but as a mom, wife, parent, all those things. So I've been really trying to be intentional about giving my system a time to reset and disconnect and, bring cortisol down. And I'm lucky enough to have a 6-month-old boy to snuggle and squish right now. He's kind of my number one source of, lowering cortisol,
Wonderful.
and playing with my daughter and things. So, yeah, so I have a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old, and yeah, they are my joy. I do not try and balance both throughout the day, though. I do want to give that, you know, um, precursor that I do have a nanny that helps during the day. And then once she leaves, I shut off work and I'm with my kids until they go to sleep. And then I go to sleep with my kids most days. So I go to sleep around 7:30 and I'm up between 3 and 4 every day. So
Oh
I
boy.
love having, yeah, well, it's an 8-hour stretch of uninterrupted sleep.
Yes, it
So
is.
it's totally healthy. My husband works, does his extra work at night and watches the baby monitor and does the dream feed with the baby. So we both get 8, 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep. So sleep is more important than date night right now in our life in this stage. So yeah, so that's been really important. I exercise every day unless it's a rest day. So I lift weights, and this is not how I was when I first started the company, but it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, I believe that's wonderful. So let's talk about the company and your career. And usually, my job is to tell a story, right? To take someone and some ideas and technology or whatever, and make it a story, because story is more, is more human, it's more nice to listen to. And for you, it's the opposite. There are so many cool things to say, and I mean, 14 years old, the airport, the company. Where do you want to start from?
Oh, I'll start at 14 years old. That's where I usually start.
Okay,
I was a really weird, eccentric kid. I loved to build things. I loved go-karts and, building all sorts of things. But my dad introduced me to software when I was about 8 years old. He bought me my first laptop
good
and
dad, good
so
dad.
taught me how to, yes, I'm trying to do the same with my daughter, starting
And
with
me too,
math,
but
and we'll
it's
get
not
to code
working.
here soon. Yeah.
It's not
Well,
working
we
for
can
me.
share ideas. Um, but yeah, so by the time I was 14, I, had built a couple different things, but none of them had taken off yet. But I was sitting on the boat one day with my family. We had this old speedboat, and we were at Lake Powell, which is in southern Utah, northern Arizona. And I was trying to use a paper map and a guidebook and Google Maps at the same time, trying to figure out, hey, where should we go? Where are we, first of all, in this huge lake? And then had this idea. I should build an app that makes this really easy, helps people make the most of their time at Lake Powell, helps them safely navigate and wayfind and things like that. So went home, and my dad is an engineer, so he tutored me through this whole process. And eventually the Lake Powell Map app was on the App Store. And with an Instagram account and some PR, me emailing a bunch of local news outlets, I was able to generate six figures in download revenue from this app before I graduated high school, which was a really fun, I paid my dad back what I borrowed from him, and it was a great small win for a teenager to kind of whet my appetite, right? Like, oh wow, this is actually something you can do. This world is so big. So, but the map bug kind of stuck with me, right? I had
Hold on a moment.
I
Hold
had
on.
destinations. Go ahead.
Let me understand. Guide me through those emotions, because for you might be simple and trivial, right? Oh, I am 14 years old. I'm on a boat. I see something that is missing. I need an app. Oh, I do an app. Oh, it takes it takes on it gets to success, six figures. But for most people, for everybody else, it's not like that, right? Usually 14 years old have ideas that are crappy, or they don't take off, or so what did you think? How did you start? Did you use a computer? Did you use paper? How did you plan it? How did you implement it? Guide me through that process. Did you have success right away? Were you looking for
No,
success, or you would just say, "Oh, I will do an app that will be useful to people," and then eventually it took off?
no, it's actually, I don't want to give myself too much credit. I went to my dad and said, Dad, how do I build an app? And he put me to all these videos and said, these are the terms you need to learn, right? These are the concepts. So you need to start with your wireframes. I'm like, Dad, what's a wireframe? So we started with pen and paper, and I just drew what I thought the app should look like and iterated on that. And then my dad introduced me to a UX designer. And I remember we went to a Thai restaurant and had lunch with him. And he coached me. And he actually went and kind of helped me polish the design. So I learned early on how to work with other people and how to assemble a team to build a software product. And my dad's sitting there coaching me the whole time. Um, and then eventually we brought in a senior developer as well. My dad introduced me to a senior developer that helped finish the app as well. So this wasn't me just doing the whole thing solo. This was me driving, but
Hmm.
getting to learn and be tutored by these senior people, right? So and then in terms of marketing and distribution, that was all up to me, right? Um, but yeah, it was a 2 year process. One of the biggest hurdles we ran into was the satellite imagery and storing satellite imagery offline on a phone. There was no Mapbox SDK, or there was no Map SDK at the time. So we built all of that from scratch.
Wow.
We bought four different massive satellite imagery files that covered the area, and all in different resolutions,
Oh, this.
different
Yeah.
elevations. And we had to basically build a tiling service that ended up working really well because everything had to work without any cell service, right? And then we used the GPS of the phone to have the geolocator. But yeah, it took 2 years. I remember driving down to Lake Powell to test it and running into bugs and being frustrated and like, oh, this is never going to work. Because at the time, I don't remember seeing an app that worked like that an
No,
offline map app at the
probably not.
time. So that was exciting, and it was really fun. It was fun to kind of stretch muscles and learn, hey, this is how you take an idea from 0 to 1. And I think that was the most valuable part of the experience. And just learning to push through boundaries and then having some sort of success at the end. That's kind of what ruined me forever, is like that experience of, wow, this can actually happen and work. So that built my delusion in a way,
Yeah, they say
which
that.
every entrepreneur needs.
Yeah, they say that failures teach you, but I don't. I don't agree. Success teaches you because you fix in your brain, in your pattern, all that you did correct, right? And I mean, if you are lucky. But so, were you at school during that period, during those 2 years?
Mhm.
Were
Yeah,
you
I was
a good
in,
student?
oh, define a good student. I can't say I was a good student. I hope my daughter doesn't see this, but um, no, I don't think I was. I remember I was very distracted. I would write business plans, and I loved my business classes, and I loved my classes where I learned like Adobe, the Adobe Creative Suite and all of those. But I remember just sketching ideas and things on my notes and not being super focused. And then I missed a lot of school too. I just played hooky a lot. But
Yeah, usually very talented
yeah,
kids they get bored, right? Probably that what was happening to you. Your brain was going so fast that the lessons were too slow. Okay, so you are 16. You made your first, you had your first success, and then what happened?
yeah. So I'm from Utah, and I am a Latter-day Saint. So I decided when I was 19, after I graduated high school, that I would serve a mission for my church. And I submitted my papers and got called to Japan. Wild. I have
Awesome.
no connection to Japan. But yeah, so I got to go learn Japanese and teach people about Jesus and the restoration for 18 months. And it was quite the humbling experience. It's a very atheist slash Buddhist country. So it built a lot of resilience, let's say.
I bet
Um,
it did. So yeah,
yeah, but it was
yeah.
great.
I dearly remember a friend, Jeff. It was also a Mormon. I mean, sorry, we Catholic, we have this name, Mormon, Protestant. I don't know if that offends you, or not. Hopefully, it doesn't. But I had very good memories of chats with him. I am Catholic, so we would talk about theology, from our point of view. We would walk during our lunch break, but it was walking. No, it was running actually. We went running, and it was too fast for me. And I don't know. I think that you guys have a morality, a moral standing that we have lost. I mean, you don't drink, you don't do a lot of things. And you have these 18 months of mission, which are like a baptism of fire, right? I mean, do you believe? Do you really believe in Jesus? I mean, if you ask in Italy, Italy used to be a Catholic country. Right now, if you ask people, most people, maybe some people will say yes, but you know, when you never go to church, you never go on mission, you never do charity. I mean, are you really Catholic or Christian? My point is, you don't go on such missions for 18 months in a stranger's land, in another country, if you don't have faith. And I'm not talking about superficial faith, the one that you inherited from your parents. You need to have a real, or at least a seed of faith in Jesus. And if you let the seed grow, then you can stay there and be a faithful witness. Otherwise, you break and leave. Anyway, uh,
Well, I
I,
just have to say, Benedetto, um, if you talk to a Latter-day Saint that understands the history of Christianity, there is a deep respect for the Catholic Church from Latter-day Saints. Just so you know,
okay.
deep, deep respect.
I don't know. It's because maybe I'm inside that, and I see. You know, when you know someone very well, you see the defects, you see the miseries of that person, right? And it's like, yeah, we try, but probably we, we could try harder. And it's also saddening that there are so many different Christians, right? At the end, if we are all children, if we all believe in Jesus, it's like if you have 10 kids, right? There will always be
Hmm.
brothers and sisters, siblings. Despite the fact that they have a fight, that they can change their last name, they can change country, but they're always siblings, and that's very saddening. But anyway, 18 months. So you get there. Did you already study Japanese a little bit, or you just land there and everything
Yeah,
starts?
yeah. No, I learned Japanese a little bit before I left, but was not proficient at all.
Were you scared or sad?
No, I don't remember being, well, I remember when I got there being very shocked by the culture. And I remember sitting there talking to people and not being able to recognize when one word started and one word ended. I remember that was my first goal. Like, I just need, in order for me to write down words that I don't know, I need to be able to recognize when they start, when they finish. Because people were talking so fast. And so, eventually I was able to understand. And I really enjoyed learning Japanese grammar because it's a lot, I treated it like algebra, kind of like just an equation. And once I figured that out, and then it was just, vocabulary, boom,
A
po.
walk in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so strange. Such culture, so where Christianity never actually penetrated, and I think we briefly talked about this offline, but who knows? Maybe that will change in the future. Maybe it depends, who goes there.
Yeah, we talked about the movie Silence, right? That's
Yeah.
a did you ever go look up that movie?
No, not
Yeah,
yet.
that'll teach you a little bit about just how much difficulty Christians have had penetrating Asia. Um, but Japan is a wonderful country with amazing people, deep, vibrant culture. It's a great place to visit if you ever have a chance to go visit.
Yeah, I also love sushi, so probably that needs to
Hmm.
be on in my list. So you came back, and one would expect you go to college, but you didn't.
Yes, I remember thinking, how in the world could I go not make money for 4 years? That was kind of my one thing. Like, how could I not make money for 4 years? I already know what I'm going to do. I want to be an engineer. So I instead got a certification for software engineering, just enough for somebody to get me a real job in engineering because I had enough experience. I knew once I got a job, I could succeed on a team. Um, so got a really good job as a junior engineer on a startup team, and worked with some senior engineers that were just incredible and mentored me, and it was just great because I had never contributed to a large code base before, right? So that was that was a learning experience. I made a lot of mistakes when it came to Git and version control. I caused a
We
lot
all
of
did.
problems.
Don't worry.
A lot of problems. But then once I got pregnant, about 18 months later, with my daughter Lucy, I um, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I want to go take this little human all over the world and explore the world. 'Cause I love being outside. I love traveling, mountain biking, skiing, history, all those things. But then I remember feeling that same frustration that I felt when I was sitting on the boat at Lake Powell when I was 14. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I had a map experience that would help me plan and discover experiences around the world like this in this way. Because visually seeing things on a map totally changes the travel experience. So At that point, I started thinking, okay, I think I'm the right person to do this. Again, the delusion comes into play from my previous success. It's like, oh, I can probably do this. Um, but knew that I wouldn't be able to raise, millions of dollars out of the gate. I'm this 22-year-old mom, brand new baby with, couple years of real, professional engineer experience. I'm not coming from a big name, no idea what raising money's like. I didn't even know what a pitch deck was. So I thought, okay, how do we build a software platform? How do we make it somewhat self-sustaining in terms of revenue? And then I remembered an experience I had after the Lake Powell app when destinations started to reach out to me and say, hey, we are printing thousands of these paper maps and brochures, and they are constantly out of date. Like the second we print them, they're out of date. And it's just such a headache. So I thought, oh, okay, well, that's a way to do it. Because to map the world to the level of detail that we aim to, we need two things. We obviously need really good data, and we need local curators, right? Because what made the Lake Powell app so great was it was a local expert, myself, that curated it. Like I would go up against anyone that says they know Lake Powell, right? I know every canyon, every hike, the whole bit. But I needed that type of expertise for every area in the world that visitors would be going to, right? So kind of the regional stewardship. Because our model works a little bit like a cascading style sheet, like CSS. The more specific, like the closer you get to the ground, the more it overrides the steward above you. So if we have, let's say, a state tourism office that takes stewardship of Utah, well, if the county takes stewardship, then they override the information that is shown to the user. They override Utah, right? So we still get the Utah broad perspective, but and then if you have a business owner, right? They are obviously more specific than the county. If you have a city trail department, they override the county. So we have this cascading data model. That was the vision for mapping the whole world. But we knew we needed to generate revenue and really find a problem that these stewards cared about in order to engage with them and have them engage with us. So we kind of it was kind of a backwards business model, and that has caused a lot of, challenge. We saw a vision and said, okay, now what problems can we solve to help us build this big vision? Instead of saying, oh, here's a problem, let's build a solution for it and make money from it. It's more of, okay, here's a big problem we want to solve. How do we engage with each individual entity that we need to bring together to solve this problem? So what we decided was, let's build a software solution that replaces paper maps and brochures for these individual destinations, right? They can take complete stewardship and distribute these really beautiful 3D interactive maps, and then they will use our map CMS, our map builder, to manage all of their place data, all the photos on their trails, whether a trail is open or closed, all of that information, they're going to use our software and then distribute their maps through our software as well. So that was the vision behind it, and that's where we are today. So today we power the official interactive maps for Yosemite, California, Raleigh, North Carolina, Moab, Utah. Some of these really iconic destinations in the United States use our software to replace and enrich their visitor map experience. And we're just really starting to scratch the surface. We've built a full map CMS. We've built a mobile app that is somewhat in its infancy, but getting there, and then a full web platform, and web map platform. And yeah, so that's kind of where we are today and how we got here.
That's excellent. Good job. But you left out a part, your marketing experiment.
Yes. Okay, the experiment today that we did.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I have okay,
Experiment.
so we have never had a period in our funding history where, for a number of reasons, where we've been able to just say, oh, we have a ton of green grass ahead of us. Let's put tons of money into the product. Let's put tons of money into marketing. Like we've never had that. We've been in this kind of, because of different things like the, fundraising ecosystem kind of drying up the last 3 years. Like we've had a lot of things where we've had to just get scrappy, right? And say, okay, we're going to get through this, and there's going to be a time when we can raise our big round of funding, but we got to get there. And we have to prove that we have to be very disciplined about how we allocate our engineering resources, right? So we've decided to go really hard into radical experimentation ideas, rapid prototyping, and then one of the things we feel strongly about is we need to actually watch the user use our product. Like we actually need to physically be there and feel their energy change as they use the product, like watch their face as they respond to different messaging. Like we need to actually be there. So you can do that over Zoom a little bit, right? Which we've done. We've done a lot of that. We interviewed 400 different travelers in 2024. And I say travelers, these are just people that, go on trips and leave their house occasionally, right? International travelers to people that just go on weekend outings. But we asked them about their entire, just everything that has to do with their trip and travel experience and process. How do you decide where to go? What tools do you use? What are your frustrations? All of that. And we learned that people use Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That's where people are spending their leisure time absorbing content about travel. And so that's how they are making those decisions. Whether that be, hey, I saw this beautiful hike in Italy, this hut to hut experience that I can, in the Dolomites. You could probably speak to that. If it's really as beautiful as we see on Instagram, I think it is. But making those decisions and then planning a trip around that experience they find on Instagram. And we asked them, okay, so how do you tell us start to finish how that works? Tell us about a trip that you've actually planned from social media. So we found those people that do that. And they explained that they'll just scroll. I had this one guy tell me that he spends an hour a day scrolling Instagram, and anytime he finds a place that he wants to visit with his family, anytime, right? So in the next 10 years, it could be 10 years from now, he will save it on his Instagram, and then he will go through and one by one, like watch the video as many times as he needs to, remember the name, and actually go save it in a Google Doc and just save it there. And like manually type it in there and type in notes and everything. And
Technology at its
that's,
best.
yes, yes. And so, which he probably had the most sophisticated travel planning process of anyone I had chatted with. And then he would group his places he wanted to go by area, like by city. And he would just spend hours on this. And so there were a lot of people like this. And a lot of people expressed that they wanted to solve those same problems. They ran into the same problems he did. They just weren't willing to go through that manual effort of, I'm going to watch this video 10 times, screenshot it, manually write down all the places, go find out where those places are in relation to each other and all of that. So, so through this, we came up with a concept for a tool that basically takes unstructured travel content, whether it be a video, a travel blog, etc. You paste the link to that content into the Wander app, and we will map all of the places mentioned in that content. So we'll transform that unstructured content to mappable place data that actually has a longitude and latitude, all of the photos, descriptions that are available that we can find, and we will map those for you. And we will pull in that content and link back to it so that you can go through and see on a map all of these places you've found through your, passive scrolling and research. Now it's all organized on a map. And that concept, when we started to pitch that to people, they started to ask, well, when is it going to be done? When is kind of that feeling of like pulling it out of our hands? So that was how we came up with the concept. But anyway, do you want me to pause there for anything?
No,
I can keep going.
keep
Okay.
going. This is wonderful.
Okay. So that was the concept, and then we thought, okay, we don't have a lot of resources because we have to maintain the other side of the business, right? And we have a big product to maintain. So any spare hour we had each sprint, we would just start working on this concept. And we eventually got an MVP together. We tested it internally and we tested it for accuracy, right? So does it map the right places in the right spot? Did some iterations. And once it was to a place where we felt like we could give this to somebody, and with a little bit of hand holding, they could use it and see value in it. Not polished, doesn't have the best onboarding, but the core feature set and the core technology. And once we got to that point, we started to actually send direct messages to people on Instagram asking them to try it out. And that's how we did our first set of iterations and feedback. And that type of feedback was more like, hey, I uploaded this video and this type of video didn't work. So it's more like us refining and finding edge cases that we needed to refine. And then after about 6 months, we got to a place where, okay, it's stable enough. Let's really refine it. And we felt disconnected from our user because through this screen, right, through Zoom, we couldn't watch them use the product. And with a mobile app, with a desktop app, you can watch someone click around, you can watch their cursor, but in a screen recording on a mobile phone, you can't see where they're tapping. You can't see what they're trying to do and how the screen actually responds. It's so painful to actually observe users on a mobile app. So this is where our crazy idea came. We decided, hey, I'm going to go buy a refundable plane ticket, go to my local airport and just walk up to people in the weirdest way possible and just ask them to try my app and ask them, if they would buy it. Because we needed two things. We needed to observe, what their pain points were, what their responses were, and learn what messaging resonated with them, like kind of when the light bulb moment went off, and watch what their frustrations were with the product, and also really see if they would purchase it, if they would really buy the product. Because, if somebody's going to buy it, they'll use it for free. Even if we don't decide to monetize it right then, if this is enough value to pay for it, we really have something. So I decided to ask them right then at the end of our interview, hey, would you buy this right now? And I didn't have a way to collect dollars, so I couldn't actually charge them, but we were very excited to hear how many yeses we got. A couple people were like, well, I need to use it a little bit more, but I really like the concept, and this is just some really weird looking girl in an airport with a camera strapped to her chest that's blinking red, and I looked weird.
Yeah, I was going
These
to ask if you
people,
had an operator, but
yeah. No, it was just me because we're a fully remote team, which is another one of our, things we've had to figure out. But next go around, I would probably hire an intern or something to come with me in video because I would look less weird, I think.
yeah, probably yes.
In a
Probably
way,
yes.
right? But
So how many people
I
did
got some weird
How
looks.
many people did you interview? How long did you stay at the airport?
It was about 6 hours, and I got about 50 people in. 50 people, a lot of people, because I would go up and remember I was a missionary, so I know how to, and I would I know how to approach people. I know how to be okay being really weird and awkward and just be okay with it. And that can be a superpower. But I'd go up and say, hey, do you have a minute before your next flight? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd say, hey, I'm working on a project. Can I ask you a couple questions? My team and I built this app. And people would either say, oh, no. But the next question I would ask is, hey, do you use social media or do you use YouTube or anything? And they would say either yes, no. Oh, and some people would be like, hey, I'm going to pass. I'm not interested. I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I just move on. And the blank stares I got from people, like, what are you doing? It was fun. But got enough really positive interactions. I didn't run into anyone that was an active Instagram user, specifically Instagram, that didn't want the product, didn't want to use it. Which that could have just been, my sample size was pretty small, probably 20 people that used Instagram specifically. But that's a pretty good ratio, 20 out of 20. And I do admit that, maybe some people felt bad for me. I don't know. Felt bad for this poor wandering
Oh, you will always find those people. That's the
girl,
price
but
for success, right? That's the price to have the good feedback.
yeah.
You didn't care, right, about that during while you were there, right? You were just improving. You were doing the right. You were doing a good thing, and from engineering point of view, and you were not doing anything bad, right? You were just asking people about their opinions about some software. So weird stares and other comments. They can go to hell.
Yeah, it's just part of,
But
yeah, it's part of the journey.
so before internet, before social media, before all this, people used to do that. Focus groups, interviewing people. My wife is a sociologist. That's been the way people operated for 100 years or so, right? There is a science behind how to interview people and do. And now, what do we do when we launch something or we need to, to find out if feature A is better than feature B? Oh, let's do a test on Google Ads or on Facebook. You spend that at thousands of dollars of money. I'm not saying that they're not useful, right? They are useful, but let's go out, meet people, ask people. You can find a lot of people. Go to a conference about whatever it is that you are building. You will find thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, and ask
Hmm.
them. All this relying on spending money on ads or on experiments online. I don't know. I think AJ, you did a wonderful job. I think you should teach a marketing masterclass. You don't have a degree in marketing, but probably you know more about marketing than all these big shot
Oh, I
professors.
don't know. I don't know about that. I can tell you a little bit about doing things without any budget.
That's a good
That's
skill to have.
probably,
You build a product, maybe more rather than marketing and product development, right? You build a product, listening to the right users, taking feedback, building that, and I think you should be proud, and you really did a lot. So let's summarize. So you have a B2B business or side of the business where you create maps or digital maps, digital apps. So is that so every location that asks you for that, that's a new app or a different side of your app?
no, it's all, so every destination takes stewardship of their presence within the Wander app.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay. So the Wonder
so
app is
one
a
one
common.
app, and so users, yeah,
You have one entry point, which is makes sense. One entry point, one brand, and then essentially they pay you to keep their location destination up to date. So they feed you the information or whatever every month, every week.
yeah. They also, a big part of our value proposition for destinations is our embedded maps as well. So how well maps can be embedded throughout their website. So if they have let's say, an itinerary on their site, any type of content that they have on their website, they can easily implement a really beautiful visual map of where all those places mentioned in that content are. Um, and we make it really easy to do that.
And now you're developing the other side of the app or the business, so the consumer side, B2C, and where you solve the problem for the user to store, to remember all the places that they see in social media. And you do that with a share. So no, you don't have a share, like a full share option right now, right? You need to copy and paste the URL.
Yeah, we don't have an app extension working yet, but we will have an app extension where you can share directly from Instagram, YouTube, and not have to leave to paste the link. We That will greatly improve engagement. We've got that feedback a lot. We just have to prioritize that feature. As you know, you gotta find a place to put it in.
Yeah. Well, I guess that will help with not very tech savvy people, like for example my wife, copying and pasting URLs. And it's not terribly difficult, but it is somewhat of a barrier. It's somewhat of a barrier.
Yeah,
So
it's an extra step.
may I ask you how many developers you have, or how many people your company has?
Yeah, we have three engineers, one back end, one front end, and one mobile. They can all do just about everything, but that's where each of them focuses.
And then you have
Small team.
sales, marketing,
Yep,
administration.
sales. We don't have a marketing person.
You are the
And
marketing
we've
person.
actually never, yeah, we've never had a dedicated, we did for just a little bit, but we've never had a dedicated marketing hire. And that's actually one of my things I would go back and do differently is I would focus on content. I would start building content from day one. We did well in terms of like LinkedIn, but I would start doing all types of social content earlier. Um, we just didn't know that this was the direction the business was going to take. So we're starting now, here and there on a shoestring. But yeah, so we have sales, customer success, and operations. So yeah, everything is right now. All of our hires are focused on the B2B side of the business, and every spare hour we have, we will. And you don't really have spare hours in the startup world, but you get what I mean. Every hour we spend on growing the social side of the business and refining the app experience.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So you have quite a lot of families on your shoulders.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
does it, weigh you down or worry you at night?
Um, I think that I think that if I didn't have faith, you and I can talk about this as fellow Christians, but if I believed that I was solely responsible for every outcome that happens in my life, I don't think I could emotionally have handled the last 4 years. I think I would have quit yeah, very, very early. Um,
But,
so I think
yeah,
I think that's the only way I do it. And I don't say that to preach. That's just genuinely psychologically how it's worked for me.
can I push you back a little bit on this? Not because
Sure.
faith is not important, faith is super important, but about the job. So say that we were 120 years ago, and you had a successful business raising and selling horses. You were the best. You feed them the good food, they train, they exercise, and you rent horses for travel, you sell horses. And then Henry Ford comes, right? Henry Ford, and he invents the automobile, the factory pipelines and everything, and you are out of business. No matter how good you are with horses, no matter how much faith you have. So I think that there's something we can control. Other things we cannot control, and what we can do. I mean, for me, having faith in my job is try to do my job, try to be a good person, try to leave a good scent when I leave a place, which is not always the case. I mean, I try, but sometimes it's like, oh, maybe AI comes and takes your job away. What do? You need to reinvent yourself. You need to study. You need to be up to date. But there are some waves in the market, in the industry that destroy you. So I probably it's not your case. I don't see anything in the technology landscape that they can wipe out your business in a day or two or a month. But it can happen. So
Yeah. I don't have faith in a specific outcome.
yeah, okay. No, that's you're
So,
preaching to the choir. Yes, we have faith
yeah.
that history and the world as someone stronger than us and all the everybody else. But we still have free will, and that means also we can make mistakes. We cannot see new things coming, and again, I spent 7 years in Expedia building the backend for lodging. So a huge amount of demand and supply, all millions of requests per second that you need to match. And I think I would be a millionaire plurimillionaire if Airbnb didn't come out. Because it take out, it's like another dimension, right? You have travel, you have, planes, where do you want to go, hotel, maybe you need a car, but that was the vacation. You go for business, you go for leisure, and then at some point, and the number of, if you look at demand supply, the number of hotels where you can go, yes, they are huge. Like in Rome, there were 1,400 hotels. Rome, Paris, and New York, they were all about the same, 1,500. But if you think about private residences, that can be, there are millions in each of these cities, or many hundreds of thousands. And that shook the market in a huge way. I mean, Expedia survived, Booking survived. They still grew a lot. They bought smaller players in that market, like VRBO and others. But it was, it was a big earthquake. And anyway, I want to go back to marketing, because you said you didn't hire anyone to do marketing, and I don't know if you consider that a mistake or not, but you did great. When I was in charge of a small project, as my database 4 years ago, and I wanted a marketing expert, and I went interviewing marketing people, and most of them say, "Oh, let's do an experiment on Google, Google Ads. Let's put some money in there and let's see how it goes." Really, I need to pay you to tell me that I need to pay Google Ads to see what's out there, to see if 30 years old or 40 or 50 would like my product better. I think I can I can look at that by myself. So it was very difficult to find someone that would know the market. I would suggest, actually, yes, produce content, the right content, appealing content for people that might use your software, and wait, like produce, be present in the field. Let them know you care, you try to care, give them information that might be useful. But yeah, I am not, but it took a while to find the good one, So
Yeah, it's painful because I think you need deliverables. You need people that can create on brand within an industry and understand the psychology of your buyer. And it's a lot. And there's this gap between, okay, one person that's a unicorn that can just do everything, and having a full team where you have like your upper level strategic minds, and then the people that are creating the content and the deliverables and each campaign. Like, it gets expensive quickly, like really, really fast. And if you don't go all in, you either need to find the unicorn, right? Or you need to go all in and build this massive team with this massive budget. And yeah, it's like we never took the leap on the full team. And we tried with we've had interns here and there, but we haven't found that unicorn. And we also haven't felt like, okay, up until now, we're really ready to scale, right? And now we are ready to scale the product on both sides of the business. And so now it's just a matter of either continuing to functionally bootstrap, right? Or can we tell a story to investors to help them see the opportunity where, hey, now is the best time to invest in Wander because the hockey stick moment is here. So it's just a matter of, strategy. And all of that comes down to my ability to execute. And I'm learning on the fly how to do all this, And
can you do
so
both?
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. What?
Can you do both, growing functionally and look for investors, or you don't have the cycles to do both?
Yeah, we do both.
Okay.
We've had to do both.
Hopefully, my rich friends in Seattle can look at this and maybe talk to the even richer friends.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you, I spent 12 years in Seattle, in the dry and sunny Seattle. And so, so what's next? What's your objective for 2025? What's the challenge right now for you? The specific challenge.
The challenge is um, limitations on velocity in terms of being able to uh, build and onboard both users and businesses the way we can onboard very efficiently, onboard a new destination very efficiently. Um, so I'm not as worried. That side of the business. The B2B side is very self-sustaining. We deal with a lot of red tape and long sales cycles due to it being government. Um, but that side of the business is functioning well. There are a lot of things we can grow, but we know that when we explode this consumer side, every part of the business the flywheel will start to spin, both on the destination side and of course the user side. Because with every new user we bring to the platform, the more valuable Wander is to our destination partners, because these are functionally marketing organizations, right? And they swarm to anybody with a user base, with an audience. And so as Wander's audience grows, we become more valuable to destinations, not just for our software, but for our exposure that we can bring. And then, of course, Wander becomes more valuable to the users as we bring in more destinations and enrich the places, data set, and trails and all that we have globally. So as they each take stewardship of their area. So yeah, so our goals for 2025, it's the year of content, and we're going to try a bunch of crap. Like we're going to try, like I'm posting on my personal, I'm coming on podcasts like this. We are just going to try tons of things, and it's going to be weird. Like we're going to fall flat a lot. Like weird ideas like buying a refundable plane ticket. Like we're just going to try stuff. We're kind of to the point where, hey, we have this really cool product and it just needs to get out there. What can we do to get people's attention? And maybe that content is exactly product related. Maybe it's adjacent. Maybe it's me posting weird videos of me in the gym. I don't know. Like whatever it's going to take, we need to just like grow our audience and get in front of that first early set of users that really loves our product. And we have a small group. We just need to grow it. We need to expand it and grow it from there. So yeah, it's the year of content for us, and it's going to be weird and uncomfortable, and my husband hates it, but it is what it is.
I might actually have an idea for a piece of content.
Okay.
I might talk to you about that offline. So about your husband,
Okay.
you told me something when we spoke last time, something like he prefers the CEO to the engineer, something like that. CEO wife to the engineer wife.
Yeah, I think part of it may be he prefers 2025 and 2024 AJ to 2020 AJ, because as you are married and things, you develop and you get stronger and better. I have become much better at handling stress in the last couple years, and I think he enjoys that, because as a spouse, you feed off of each other's energy, and my energy is much better now, much healthier than it was before. So I think that's a big part of it. But yeah, as an engineer, I worked. I work now, but I was like typing, writing code, and could not stop until like the amount of stress I was under.
You were
It was just not healthy and
unhappy.
not sustainable. Yeah. But I love being an engineer. I love writing code. I definitely, um, yeah, I definitely, but I would today I'd be a much better engineer today, just because I've learned to work smarter in all areas. I think I'd be a much better engineer, but I'd have less keystrokes, let's say, today.
It might probably it's too boring, right? I've been writing code for 20 years, and then at some point you start facing other problems, bigger problems, both architecture or business, and I don't know. I got very away from coding in the last years, and so I'm sad that it's difficult for you and for other companies like yours to raise money because there are, in the current hype cycles, AI is sucking up a lot of money. So I work for
Hmm.
part time for a company, and we were talking to a client last week, and there is 250 millions to tune models. It's like 250 millions. Can you believe that? I mean, it's important, it's good, but you know what will happen to these tens of thousands of startups about LLMs and AI? How many of them will survive this cycle? How many language models do we really need? 10, 20, 50, 100? Not 10,000, right? So all these 400, I don't know, 400, 500 billion dollars invested in AI, most of them, it will burn. So anyway, we will see.
I'd love to get your take on training data for these LLMs
Yeah.
because that's where I see Wander fitting into this AI landscape. Because we have just this constant feed of fresh data coming in from one, our destinations, two, our users, and I find it interesting because LLMs are only as good as their training data. Would you agree,
Oh,
or is that an
absolutely.
oversimplification?
Absolutely. No, no, no. The thing that most people and companies undervalue or underestimate is cleaning data. You can't just
Hmm.
expose LLM to crap data. I mean, it will take out something, but you need to understand the data you have. You need to clean it. And the more you clean it, the more you give good data to an LLM, either with fine tuning or with context, it will be the better results it will produce. But this is a very underestimated problem in the industry. And our job in the company I work for is usually that one. You need to build, in the data pipeline that you build, you need to put cleaning, and it varies greatly from field to field. So I have no idea what kind of data you get from your destinations. If they send you, what do they send you? Structured data? They
Yeah,
send
I
you?
can tell you. I can give you some examples. So it's all, think about all of the information you need to successfully and safely travel somewhere. For example, um, this specific hike, we have a destination called Glenwood Springs, Colorado. And you may know that destination, but their top attraction is Hanging Lake. It's this gorgeous lake that you hike to, but sometimes you need a permit. It's often down for maintenance, the trail, because it's heavily trafficked. So I, as a traveler, want to know, okay, what's the best time of year? When will it be open? Are there any maintenance schedule? Is there any maintenance scheduled during these dates that I'm considering? How early do I need to get a permit? What's the best time of year to go? Even down to like, is it going to be iced over? Do I need to hike in spikes? Like, do I actually, you know, need crampon-esque, equipment if I'm hiking in the winter? All that kind of, and that's just for one place, right? Um, or for places like Orlando, which hotels have a free shuttle to the parks or a free shuttle to the airport? Like those little things and those things that change, often those are all that's information that the destination managers are responsible for gathering from the hotels, from the municipalities, from the trail managers, and so that they can distribute that to visitors. And right now, all of that data is stuck in these really outdated, like CRMs, spreadsheets. I would be surprised if a lot of this information is even surfaced to the LLMs we have today. The amount of data that we have from these destinations that is just kind of pen and paper still, not even really surfaced online, not kept up to date online, because this data will stale quickly and it's really important for the travelers to have. And it causes, and these destinations that we work with, they are responsible if anything related to visitors goes catastrophically wrong, right? Like if somebody falls off of Angel's Landing in Zion National Park and they weren't educated well enough about, hey, don't hike at this time of year, or hey, you need this safety equipment, they're the ones that get the bad press and have to deal with the reporters and all of these things, right? And it ultimately affects their budget if people stop coming due to that bad press. So all of these incentives are here for a tool like Wander to gather and aggregate really good data and make it easy for these destinations to inform their visitors. And so I wonder, yeah, I wonder if you have any thoughts on specifically how and tactically how that could impact the future of the LLM landscape in travel and tourism.
Oh, well, I don't know. I think that there are two parts probably. One is to try to bring the paper into a digital form, cleaning, but also the staleness. I mean, do you allow travelers to put or to update the state? Maybe that trail is closed. That can they go in the app and signal that or?
We will have that. And what's cool is it won't be just anything goes. The destination will be able to curate those comments. So if somebody puts something that is either inaccurate, inappropriate, they'll be able to override, and those comments will be surfaced and seen to the right steward so that they can either be confirmed and added to the public listing, the public information. Um, and then also from a social aspect, I think Wander is in a position to do some really interesting things in terms of reviews. Not just like, hey, open, closed, hey, there's something wrong here, but also leaving genuine reviews from a social aspect. Because I have a question for you, I guess. So do you use Google Maps at all to leave reviews, view reviews, etc.?
Google Maps, yes, I use Google Maps. Do I leave reviews? No, rare. Maybe one every 10 years. Do I read reviews on Google Maps? Sometimes. I usually read reviews on TripAdvisor for
Mm.
restaurants mainly. So for restaurants, I only mainly use TripAdvisor. Why are you asking about the reviews on Google Maps?
Yeah, because we have this idea for kind of doing something really different with reviews, and thinking about the incentive structure behind reviews. The question I want to ask people, I just thought of this the other day, this specific question, but if you knew that all of your friends were going to see the reviews you left on the restaurants that you go to, would that change your review? I think it would. I think it really would. If you knew, because think about it, you're at this restaurant, let's say you make a really good connection with the owner. He's a good guy. You want to leave a review to help the owner, right? To help the owner out. Um, but I think reviews would become more helpful if there was more of a social aspect. If you knew your friends were going to see what you posted, I think it'd be more helpful and maybe more kind and honest too.
Maybe, yeah.
Um,
For that, yes.
who knows?
It's part of
Just
the.
an experiment. Speaking of experiments that we could run around that, but speaking of content, um, yeah, that was a tangent. But speaking of content and reviews and user-generated content, that's where my mind went.
Well, I'm certainly curious to see what that experiment will bring. For now, I tell you, well, thank you for your time. You have a wonderful journey in this life, in this planet, and in this business landscape. I wish you all the best. I I hope to see you again and talk about the progress. In the meantime, good luck. Enjoy your time with your small kids because they will grow. They will still love you and spend time with you, but these early years are they're really special.
Yes, thank you so much. I absolutely will.
Okay. Good luck again, AJ. You have a wonderful day.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.